Hey y'all, Rick Sky here, and if you're like me, you do a lot of live streaming for YouTube and maybe other purposes too. But even though you've got amazing lighting for your green screen set, which I feel I do, and you can find all the lighting and equipment like I use linked within this video's description. But even though you may have incredible lighting for your green screen set, what if your camera is not set correctly? So what I'm going to show you within this video is how I set my camera, which is this camera here. You can find it and the lens and everything linked within this video's description. But how I set it to look perfect with my green screen. So this right here is an app that I downloaded. It's from Sony. It's called the Sony Remote App. And basically what I did is I paired my Sony Alpha with this app. And my Sony's just connected to Wi-Fi. And then it's paired, to this app. And you can see here, you can see my desk, and you can see how I feel that looks perfect. And when I sit over there, check out my recent live shows, and I'm gonna do a live show and demonstrate these quality settings. So if you're watching this video, click that little YouTube card. That's that little link that appears within the corner of this video. Click that YouTube card and you'll be able to watch the live show that I filmed with these settings. But what's so important about this is that, especially if you're on the laptop, which I'm on my Mac Mini right now, but I've also got a laptop. So I can sit over on my studio's desk with my laptop and see this right in front of my face as I make adjustments. Now, depending upon the lighting that you use, your settings may be different. But for me, one of the key settings here is right there, which is white balance. By default, your camera is probably AWB, which is automatic white balance. You want to manually choose that white balance. Now for me, 5600K was optimal. That's the lighting in this room. I mean, that looks on point. So my skin doesn't look a funny color. You don't have those weird colors in your video when you're green screening. So manually choosing your white balance is super important. And you can download, there's light meter apps for your iPhone. There's also light meters, physical light meters you can buy. I'll link one of those within this video's description. If you want to meter the light in your space and then go in here and see, I can change this. That's what's so cool about this. Without touching the camera, I can click this and then I can go in here and enter whatever color temperature. So like I said, 5600K is optimal for me. Yours may be something different, but by default, your camera's probably AWB, which is automatic white balance. And that's, even though cameras are good with AWB now, it's not perfect. I mean, if you can light meter your space or just fiddle with the settings and get that perfect white balance, it's really going to benefit you. Now, these settings up here, obviously the camera is in manual mode. The shutter speed, I'm doing 30. Because for video, that seems to be, if you use a different shutter speed, you're probably going to see a lot of ghosting. It's going to look wonky. But I'm doing 30 right there. Aperture, I'm using f2.8. That is a pretty shallow depth of field. And again, depending upon your personal preference, you may want to use a less shallow depth of field there. I mean, that's completely up to you. But for me, it's going to be eye autofocus. I think that's going to look good for me. In other scenarios, you may want to use f5.6 or greater. Keep in mind, any of these values that you change, you're going to have to change the corresponding values. So I'm using ISO 200, and, boom, there it is. I mean, this is what I'm using. I'm using continuous autofocus. If I wanted to, and probably what I'll do to eliminate any sort of focus breathing, which this particular camera has exhibits very minimal focus breathing, but, you may want to switch, once you get everything tuned in, you may want to switch over to manual focus. So, use autofocus, establish that perfect focus, and then switch to manual. So during your live stream, it's not constantly trying to autofocus. But again, that's a matter of personal preference. Now, the reason I found this is that, as I'm a big Sony camera guy, and I'm heavily invested in Sony lenses and Sony cameras, so I didn't want to fiddle with another type of camera. Now, if you don't have a camera, See, the A10 Mini Pro that I use for my live streams, actually the Blackmagic design cameras, in particular the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K, that camera you can plug in and you can control that camera using the A10 Mini Pro's interface. So that's super cool. You know, if you have a compatible micro four thirds lens on your Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, you could zoom in and zoom out. You can change. It's basically DaVinci color settings that you can apply to the live stream if you're using a Blackmagic camera. But since I'm not, and I'm using Sony, and I don't want to switch. I mean, Blackmagic makes awesome stuff, but I don't want to switch because Sony's my stills camera, my video camera. I don't want to switch and have to buy new lenses and all that. So this was a great way to really just fine tune the lighting for my live shows. And obviously I'm not tuning this through the A10 Mini Pro's interface because that's reserved for, at least currently reserved for Blackmagic cameras. But I'm able to tune this through an app with my camera on the tripod. So when I sit behind my virtual set over here, and I'll go over here just to show you. So when I sit behind my virtual set, see, you can see how it looks if you look washed out or whatever. I mean, I think that lighting is great, and especially when I pull up a green screen, and I'm well lit because of these lights, and when I pull up a green screen because I've got the settings of the of the Sony camera just really dialed in. I think this is going to be my best green screen, live stream yet, just because I've really gone in and I've manually fine-tuned all of these settings using the using Sony's app. And obviously it is worth mentioning, you would have to have a compatible Sony camera to be able to use this app, but I've linked the camera and lens like I use within this video's description. I think, it would just be hard to achieve better image quality. I mean, there's tons of camera brands, tons of camera lenses. It's like anything else. You get in whatever brand it may be, and then you continue to accessorize your camera. And for me, that's Sony. So, I'm not going to step away from Sony, just personal preference. So since I'm sticking with Sony, using this app only makes sense. It's so much more convenient because, like I said, I just put my laptop over there on my virtual set's desk. And while I'm sitting there, before I go live here in a minute or so, I may discover that, maybe I need to slightly adjust some of these parameters, which I know I don't, because I keep everything consistent in the studio. I don't move the lights. I don't move the desk. I don't move any of this. So everything remains consistent. So in theory, and I don't move the tripod that the camera's on. So in theory, anytime that I go live, anytime that I start a live show, since everything's in the same place, I've got blackout curtains on the window, I've got the exact same lighting. Since everything is the same, everything should always look the same. So, when I spend an hour or so fine-tuning these camera settings, the work's done. Unless I change my lights, unless I move my equipment around, the work is done, and the results should remain consistent. So, if you really want to save time for your YouTube live streams, take the time and really, like I did here, just dial in those settings for your environment. And if you've got, if you've got a window in your studio, get some blackout curtains, man. I've linked some within this video's description. Get some blackout curtains so you can have consistent light regardless of the time of day or night. That's going to save you a lot of grief, because if you got to go in every time and set your settings, it's going to become a burden, especially if you do a lot of live streams. But again, if you're in a situation where you can't avoid it, maybe you're in a temporary space, this at least makes it easier, because you can go in and fine tune your settings while you're sitting at your virtual set. Because obviously I can't look at the front of this camera and see what it sees. And if I didn't have this app here, I would have to physically, control the camera using the buttons. But using this app, I can control it from my computer while I'm sitting behind the desk and looking at myself and making sure everything looks good as I adjust it. So I hope this video helped. Again, remind everyone, expand this video's description and then click the link there, because I've linked everything, all the gear that I just discussed, all the stuff that I use for my virtual set, the live streaming device that I use, the professional audio device that I use for my live streams. I've linked it all there. So I hope this helps. Again, I'm learning as y'all learn. So, no question's a stupid question. Comment below, ask anything, and, I'll try my best to respond, and, maybe even respond face on video, provide you a face on video response to your question. So I appreciate your viewership. This stuff can be a lot of fun. It can also be very frustrating. So I hope y'all enjoyed this, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that bell icon when you do to be notified whenever I post another video. Thanks for your viewership, and y'all have a good day. Hey y'all, Captain Irix Guy here. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to subscribe. It's youtube.com/Irix Guy. And ring that bell icon when you do to be notified whenever I post another video. Thanks for your viewership, and y'all have a good day.